Good evening, folks. As today it's time to take health into your own hands. And one of the things I found in my travels that have been great, besides tensor rings, in increasing my connection to ground, mother, in frequencies of the earth, of the universe. I mean, these are a bit dirty. And let's have some people that have Ionis now. We'll have some questions, and I'll have some things to tell you that I've learned from using them, and then asking questions. What's very much impressing me this week is some of you aware I broke my foot. Right, it happens on and off throughout my life since I've had an injury playing sports. Got cleated, he stepped right on my foot. And it caused a lot of problems. So sometimes I stepped on curves and stuff wrong, and well, I opened the door wrong. So I know about some research in helping heal bones using frequency that the professor has done, and one of it's built into this. So I said I put it on setting 1. I keep it at the foot of my bed. Just put it in the bed and been laying down. And he says after a week, I sent a message to somebody so I could read it. It's because I told him what was going on. I said, I'm very impressed at how quickly it's recovered. And so he says the following. And then he says to me, he says, change the Ioni to setting 3 after 1 week. He says the number 3 setting increases osteoblast production, which is bone cells. He put in parentheses. He says your foot will heal faster and the healed bone will be stronger. Thank you very much, Professor. It's like awesome. And so I have some of these left. They're probably the only stock on hand until the new production comes in the world. So I'd like you guys to get at them first. So I have the ability for you to purchase the amazing Ioni, because that's what it is to me. It's absolutely amazing. Structure and water I do different. Right? There's many, many ways to structure water. And the way I'm doing it is to produce the ions and the hydrogen and the double oxygen. I want this particular reaction as my structure of water. Now, many people might have an older design of this. This is not my design. This is actually not efficient. The length of times they were being run was too long. Yeah, I measure the electrical charge in those devices. So anybody who has tropical fish tanks has to keep very good eye on the electrolyte, or the acid levels, the electrical levels of the water itself. It's very, very important. So my design's different, actually. The design I did. And when I showed it to Professor, he asked me why. I said, well, I wanted a proper Hall effect between the copper windings here. Let me see if I find what the camera is. You can look down in there. You'll see a winding. It spins real nice. Right? Well, it's perpendicular to these magnets. The magnets don't have to be super huge like some of these bigger ones that I use for some of my other magnet stuff that I do. And the ones I'm using are they're as long as they needed to be. And there's big enough flux lines. In other words, those magnetic lines. If you ever use a piece of paper and you put the iron filings on it, then you would it intersects that pintle that's going around. It has these windings on it here, and these are laminated, so they won't corrode and stuff like that and touch each other. A short out. As he asked me why I made these choices, and I said proper Hall effect. He said, what was wrong with this design? I said it never gave a Hall effect. It just added magnetic lines into the water that was vortexing, and a natural vortex of water will put electrical potential into water. It just doesn't put enough. It doesn't dissolve the electrolyte properly that I want, and it's now producing a pulsing Hall effect. Every time that thing leaves a magnetic flux line, the line collapses back into a tendril toward the magnet, and pop, it puts electrical potential into the whatever electrolyte or a mineral you've put into the distilled water that you yourself have prepared. I'm not going to go into the making of these. I've already done that before, but you can use even and these are available. Most Most chefs have these. You can get in most towns. These are used. These are prismatic copper coils. You can get them in most brewery chefs. They use these for straining your mash. Now, that's what they are. They're prismatic, and they already come in that shape. And anybody who says they took all this time making them, or that is fucking lying to you. Because I sourced these myself on Amazon. And I myself am using something a little bit different as I came across a product I found more efficient for me making them. But as you can see, it's just, they come like that. Somebody asked would I sell them by the handful of the magnets. No, why don't you just make one? I encourage it. But I made a bunch for the shop that closed, so I'm gonna recoup my losses. So if you buy a twin kit with an Ioni, I'm gonna chop you a good price. I really will. You won't be paying that shipping whatever you paid to the Ioni site, and I want you to use that link now to pay for your Ionis. I want you to use the link from the professor's website now, please. And like I was doing before. And if you want the twin kit, I'll refund the postage that you paid the professor, something like 30 pounds. It's like $60 in Australia, so I'll refund that because you're buying a twin kit. So I'll do all that on top of it. So we'll get this how we want. And so what I do, I'm going to use mine. I'm not using that one. I want it done right. I'll be taking the magnets off that. This one was mine, personal. And it's not made correctly, so I don't use it. Okay, so I've kind of already got myself some water poured. I was running out to get my freaking water, right? So now I got some water, right? And couldn't locate my, I usually use one kind of salt, but tonight I'm going to use another. I just grabbed a bag of salt. I'll find it after the show. And it's just a pinch. It don't take much. Right? I'm going to take my hand, right? And I'm just going to do a little pinch. It ain't going to be much. I'm going to put that in the water. You'll watch it. It falls through. It's not much. Because you don't want it to taste like you're drinking from the ocean. You might need that salt in your body. If you keep track of your pH levels, you'll know what you need. Every body is different. I'm not a doctor. I have the same medical degree as Bill Gates. When I have a microscope that shows me results. And I'm keeping them. I'm also doing couples results of vax done vax. You only run this for 20 seconds. And that thing is vortex is bringing electrical potential in for being a vortex. And I got a Hall effect going on between the magnet and the pimple in the center. It ain't going to take long. And she'll give good bubbles. And if she ain't giving good bubbles, you know you didn't put enough electrolyte in it that you have chosen. Hey, there's people using borax. Hey, I can't legally do that. They will arrest me. Well, some people find great benefit of that. Some people find great benefit from salt. I just want the ions. I want negative ions, to be specific, and I want them now. And then when I pour them in the hydrogen flask, these things are getting expensive because it's catching on. That's why I said you can make your own, or you can buy the ones I've got. I took mine off Amazon. So as you see here, now this will conduct electricity because I put the salt in it. And it's not a huge fizz. I could have put a little bit more salt in it, but I won't. Now I had an air bubble on the bottom. Now there's two plates in here. One's got a positive lead, one's got a negative. Add to a small battery. It causes electrolysis. In this case, they're titanium coated plates, which is often pretty non-reactive. And so you let that run. Instantly, you'll smell the ions that come from the top. And within about 15 minutes to 20 minutes, on many people, we're watching their blood separate. It's all stuck together. It didn't matter if he was vaxxed or not. One person very specifically did a lot of electronics that was in the shop. And his picture was in the front window, and I had an exact same result from somebody else in the same neighborhood. Their missus didn't have the same result. I'll be very curious to see how they're doing. Because since I lost track of the shop, it was a lot of equipment went back. And that's my microscope. I keep the microscope in the data. Yeah. So that runs 2 minutes all on its own. It's yielding a hydrogen content of right around 1600 ppm the first time you run it. And if you let it sit for about 5 minutes, do it about 4 or 5 cycles, you'll end up with about a 1900 to 2100 ppm of the hydrogen, which you won't. It's going to make an H2 and an O2, because inside every water glass, some of the oxygen is not bound as a water molecule. Some of the hydrogen is not either. What do you think the fish breathe? The water or the oxygen that's in it? Right? So this will actually bind two of the oxygens together and two of the hydrogen together, and occasionally a hydrogen oxygen will bind. Right? And it's always going to cause an ionic discharge of an ion when it does it, and that's what we're after. That's what you want. You ain't gonna do that. You got to say with the iTero wine, but you could put different healing frequency that you're wanting for whatever your treatment is into it with one of those that connect tonight. With the Ionis, I haven't found them yet, but I want to get some, or you can get these, and they're very easy to get. The waterproof bags you put your phones in, and I highly recommend you do that, so you can wear it while you're taking a shower, you wear it while you swim. You could put this on your glass of water on top of it. And they said it took about a minute, and the frequency gets into the water, so you can actually, then you can 783 or water, or frequency 2, whichever one of the Ionis you happen to be wanting to run. It's a great way to put the Schumann resonance right in your body. Do you hear the beat? Yeah, I'm thirsty. I'm wanting this. Glass. Yeah, I've been wanting this. This is it'll give you energy. I guarantee it does. It's like an energy drink. I swear to God. Everybody I ever gave one to says the same thing. Instantly you smell the ions when you drink it. That's some high quality H2O2. And so, and most of the time, most people will be wanting your Ioni on number 3. Sleep-wise, any of you owners of Ioni out there would like to talk about how you're sleeping, right? You put that on number 2, put it on the bed next to you. People are saying, wow. I'm saying, wow. And I love to hear your feedback on it as well. And most people that have them are not even on the show right now, not aware I'm doing this. People are coming in and out. You got foot issues, Alan. You talk to me. I've got one in Nimbin Bada Bing Bang Bong. I could get to you quicker and cheaper because it's already an S. And I couldn't think of a finer recipient. As you got those issues, and this will do great for you. You'd run it on 1 for a week and pop it on 3. Yeah, this is very cool. You know, the more I learn about frequencies and tensor rings and stuff, the more you just want to go back and slap your science teacher for not teaching you the real stuff that mattered, things that you could heal and help with, right? So that's about that. I'd like to show now a little short video from the Ioni website, because that's important to me to do. And I want to talk about who does the things. Yeah, something must have been very funny. Okay, and I'm going to flip over to the screen now of the site, because I needed to redo this video anyhow. How do I flip around? Right, this is where you got to move thing so you can see it. And so hopefully you can hear this all right. I'm going to run the video from the website.
Welcome to PEMF training, and in this first video we'll look at how it works. What does it do to your body? And for that we need to understand that we are energy beings, electrical beings having a physical experience. When you go from the biggest, like the universe, which is held in place by magnetic fields within the quantum field, in the same way when we go to the smallest, electrons cruising around a nucleus core that is just as far apart and just as tiny in matter as the universe. So understanding that just that swill of energy is actually you in billions of cells all put together, then we understand that the electricity, the energy necessary for us to be alive and healthy is very crucial. Now, when you look at the cell in itself, we can see that
this is very interesting.
A lipid profile, and that is protecting the cell within itself with the internal factory, ATP production. And if that is in balance, we have equal amount of positive and negative within the cell, then the cell has healthy membrane potential. And that membrane potential allows the cell to work optimally. Usually it's between 60 and 80 millivolt. Now, if you compare that with everything outside, as soon as we have a healthy environment in nature, we have that balance between negative and positive.
Yeah, I gotta point out that that's a very important thing, is the millivolts. How little do you need? Because some of the stuff I'm seeing being used by the PEMF community is giving a really big jolt.
Positive ions, and it's in constant motion. Whereas if we go into a stale room where the air is not ventilated, where there is no air circulation, that's when we have high positive ionization. And you can see here, negative ions are a lot more active.
And that's what I was talking about. It doesn't matter. It's not a vaccine issue. It's environmental. We have to change the ionic charge of our blood.
There is more ions cruising around the nuclei, whereas in a positive ion, there is less movement, there is less action. Which means if we imbalance those two, if we become in our life more sedentary, we don't exercise, we don't spend outdoors, we don't hike and swim in nature, then our cells slowly deplete. And as we all know, with our lifestyle, we really struggle with that. So this is the situation that we find in nature and also within ourselves. So as soon as we have a healthy cell, it works. All those membrane receptors work perfectly. And as soon as the cell loses that energy and we get too many positive ions, or actually lack of negative ions, that's when the cell deflates. And then it looks like an all shriveled up balloon, which doesn't really allow full functioning. Low ATP production, and that's when we go into that fermentative state of the cell producing high acidity, lactic acid, and yeast production in the body, which then is pretty much a vortex. It just gets worse. So we have two options. One would be to exercise outdoors, fresh air all the time, or we use energy that travels through the body, pulses through the body to recharge our body with negative ions.
One of these.
And then there is another very important factor, those ion channels at the outside of your cells. And I'll cover that more in the detox video, heavy metal detox video.
Now this is kind of important. I'm going to go right to this part.
Shockwaves.
Now you got these parts in the cells that stuff has to come in and out. Let's just hush him. That come in and out. And the frequency from the Ioni itself is the natural frequency of the universe, the 7.83. It really, really helps sift. And with the proper water in the blood, the results is so quick.
Everything else is a chain reaction. For example, improved microcirculation. When you have more oxygen,
for PEMF
and your
devices,
red blood cells more pliable, they can reach every organ. Accelerated cellular detox from heavy metals and PCBs and dioxins, which is actually due to the shock wave. You blast those off and then you can bind and eliminate them. Increased supply of oxygen due to charged hemoglobin. The hemoglobin holds, I think, 250 oxygen molecule if properly charged. If improperly charged, when your blood saturation goes down, well, that's when you have only, let's say, 100 oxygen molecules holding on to that hemoglobin and traveling through the body. So by charging and increasing negative ionization within each cell, you can then carry more oxygen, which means also when you open up with membrane potential your cell, then you can actually absorb more nutrients. That increases ATP production. That produces then more antioxidants. It's all a chain reaction from that one single thing. Increasing your negative ionization, increasing the potential of each cell. Now the cell still needs to work on its own, but it has more energy to do so. And that's why you find in elderly people that when they start using PMF, they build up more and more energy. And depending on how far down you are, it might take a while to bring you back up, but you will find that it always happens over time. You build up more and more resilience. The body can deal with more and more things at the side before you reach proper health. And I won't go through all of them. You'll see them in other videos. We'll cover them in more.
The endorphin release I found interesting. If I go over here to this part of our page for the Ioni device, you see some of the benefits that are. He's got all the stuff to prove his claims. The benefits will include pain management. I'll vouch for that one, like arthritis and fibromyalgia. They've shown great promise in that. Accelerated bone healing I'm undergoing right now, which you guys are hearing my feedback on. And I'll go into it. I'm very, very impressed with that. And there's studies done by that to prove all these things. Improve wound healing, reduced inflammation, the better sleep. Everybody that's bought one is telling me about that, as well as myself. And the therapy offers a non-invasive approach to support your overall well-being, which is very, very important. You know, if we could take these things into our own hands, right? Let me switch this back around and re-aim. You know, just something as simple as this to keep in your pocket all the time. That blows me away. You know, how I didn't have shoulder surgery because I wore the bracelet around my wrist that Rod had sent me. That blowed me away, just because it goes against everything we're taught. You know, we're taught you have to have a pill. You have to have a visit. You go to the emergency room for freaking nosebleeds, right? Just to get a tablet for pain when there's so many different ways to reduce inflammations. Now, the water itself is Victor Schubert's research from, let's see, he was born in the 30th of June, 1985. I'm reading this. If I was off the top of my head. He died in September 25th, 1958. So really, anybody goes around here of our age that says they invented this would have to be full of crap, because everybody was dead by then. And there's his stuff. And he came up with this, and he's used the tech of Tesla and Reich and them type of things. It was in his mind totally separate from them. And he realized a lot of things. And his work with vortex and water and things like that was, well, I'll read you what it says. It says, from 1928 to 1935, Victor Stroberger dedicated a lot of his time to developing a device for the production of living water. That is, water with an enhanced structure, as well as all the necessary minerals. According to his theory, spring water is the optimal choice for life and health, since it rises from an unspoiled environment. Due to the human interaction, the number of intact water springs has reduced. And on the other hand, the structure of water has been destroyed due to its unnatural environment. Have you seen the cell towers on top of all the water tanks and everything? You've got to put the mother back in it. And the mother is 783 song. And her whistle is the whistle that needs to go in the water, so to speak. Whistler's mother's song, if you will. It'll bring the molecules that are vibrating at the frequencies of the 5Gs or whatever else happens to be being broadcast in there back to what it should be. And it's essential. And that part of structure in water won't be done with a vortexer. You can't do that part of it with the twin kit. You must have a PEMF device. I dare tell you, One, you are not a PEMF device. You've never been underwritten by the Tesla Labs, none of that. And you're a light treatment. And light has fantastic healing, but don't even putting the P in front of your initial on it. It's kind of deceptive like that. And I don't like having things plugged in while I'm using them. Do you? Do you like to have a wire plugged in? Have you got an EMF meter to measure things to see if you're getting blasted? Very low Gauss. You have to go low Gauss to oscillate a cell without destroying it. You want to save the cell, right? While you're being able to release this toxin so it can sift freely. Oscillate, bring in the goodies, out goes the excretions, and the cells last longer. So you get, just by my magnets off of that, you can get these at a brewery ship. I'm using a 1.44, I think it is, hertz. 144 hertz antenna wires, small ones. will work. Strip of wire around a nail like what's her name, Cheryl did over in New Zealand. He slapped that teacher. No, he was very informative. And I'm gonna pop you a link to Victor's work in case you're curious. You might understand a concept and just run with it and give us an invention that we all need. But I'm very, very, very impressed with how fast my foot is healing. Oh, the bruise is still there. That's undeniable. Oof. And that, of course, when things were swallowed out, it split the skin a bit, so things do itch a bit. But I'm very impressed, so I'll follow his instructions to a T. He says, you do this and this and this. So, I think, Alan, you might be quite interested in this. And that's a link to Victor's work. And from his work, all the vortexers got made around the world. And I seen there's a flaw in them, so I make mine different. And I'm going to take those magnets off that toe and put them in my pile of I own a bunch of magnets. And I got to take all those pyramids off so I can use them. I might get convinced to sell them to somebody for a course. Hey, why? I need them. Can't replace them. Hey, for that price, let's see if I can find that. And this is where you can purchase an Ioni. You purchase an I do own one. I'm allowed to sell that I own for my commission. So I only have one of those. Contact me on the site for that. And we'll get you right. And when you need water and everything, talk to me. I don't care if we got to split you up. Let's get you right. Because once these are gone, they're gone. And if I don't start selling some of these soon, I'm going to say, do you want to hold them? Maybe he might be able to sell them walking around because they're doing a shame not healing nobody sitting in here. I went ahead and got charging cables for all of them. I'll have to send you the PDF for the owner's manual. But you got me. Okay. If you get me, I'm better than the owner's manual because I'm also there to talk you through. I could take one of these apart in front of you, show you how to take the batteries. I'd change them a couple years from now if you ever need to do that. You hear where I put that? I use a standard old cable, right? Just one of these old fashions. I never had mine run out. I just once in a while plug it in because I'm like, well, this thing hasn't run out in a while. I better do something about that. Okay, so I'll just see what it's got in it. And it don't need it. Oh, that was a Type C. It's got the Android one, the old style. And I like about those is you can plug them into batteries, man. You could keep your stuff charged on the road. Yeah, this thing can charge on the road and the twin kit can charge on the road. It's right, shit hits fit. If I can charge a battery, I get water. I got my PMF in my pocket. I got fuck you to the man who's trying to poison us all. Yeah, with bad vibes. And the negative waves in the Martin Moriarty kind of situation we're going through. So, right, I'm going to cut this off now. And to your health, I love Ioni. I own an Ioni. And I wonder how I ever did without it. It becomes that much of a part of your life. And so message me and let me know. All right, we've only got, I think, a dozen. And when they're gone, they're gone. If you buy 2, I'll cut you a discount as well. I've been told I could drop for that, for 2. So let me know. All right, big love, people. Take your health into your own hands. Otherwise, you're going to get manhandled by the man. Right? Yeah. What a difference you made. Big love. Peace.